Sometimes when I click and I see that you guys requested a movie and I see it, it just brings, a gleam, some sunshine in my life. And then I go and I watch it and I'm like, what are you trying to do? Who sent you? Why'd you pick this? What is happening here? It's just violence and more violence, some sex, some more sex, some violence, some nudity, and then some more sex. Let's get into Bully. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Bully. Now, this is a movie from 2001 and it stars Brad Renfro. Now, before I get into your mind is a terrible thing to waste, this is your brain on drugs, just stop. I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss. We just need to talk about Larry Clark for just 5 seconds, because there is a fine line between, art, and then there's another line that goes all off over into the exploitation era. Like, which one is it? I feel like he crosses it. He crosses it a lot, and we excuse it and just call it a masterpiece. Was this a masterpiece? I don't know.
Go back.
You guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me. Let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the video, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested this movie. So if you happen to have gotten a little uncomfortable, a little squeamish, a little dirty, it's not because of me. It's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. You are not a bully. Now, getting into this movie is based on a book adaptation called Bully, A Story of High School Revenge, which is actually based on the true life murder and scenario of Bobby Kent, who was brutally killed by 7 people for being an abusive bully for majority of his life, mainly to his best friend, Marty. Now, I was familiar with the story, but this is a first time watch for me as far as the movie, and I was very much so surprised that this movie was directed by Larry Clark. Not only is Larry Clark a director, but he's a writer, and he is big as far as photography. Mostly known for not only focusing his photography, but his directing career on viewing the current state of youth through a grimy outlook, whether that's through sex, drugs, violence, especially when we get into his most notable works, movies like Ken Park and movies like Kids. Everyone remembers Kids. We get this documentary style, this realistic in-your-face portrayal of the truth of what's maybe going on in the mind of a kid like Casper or Tilly. Like, it is so realistic. It makes you uncomfortable. It's in your face. It's very suggestive sexual situations. We see these teens and it's like, oh my God, I know that these type of scenarios are happening, and we have teens out here like this, who are engulfed in drugs, violence, sex, and they're being irresponsible. But it's another thing to see it acted out and in your face in the way that it is there. At the same time, you find yourself understanding why the movie is so brutal, why it's so blunt, so honest, so sexualized, so graphic. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable so that you as an audience, as a person, will wake up and pay attention to why we are even here and why these teens are even thinking this way. I got it. Do I want to see it again? Probably not. Now, can I say that I had the same feelings when I watched something like Ken Park or when I watched something like Bully? I'm not sure. Now, getting into the movie, I did not know what to expect, but when we open in Florida with some phone sex and some JT money, who that? I just was turned up right away just because I was, I ain't give a damn what was going on. But we are introduced to Marty and his best friend, Bobby. Now, Marty is portrayed here by Brad Renfro, who I very much so remember coming up being that young teen star. I remember him from movies like The Client and movies like At Pupil. And he always put me in the mind of someone like a River Phoenix, you know, somebody who passed away very young from a drug overdose. Passed away at 25 years old, just like Casper. Justin Pierce from Kids, aka Roach from Next Friday, who also passed away at 25. I mean, y'all take that with a grain of salt and chew on it, Larry Clark. But we also have Nick Stahl here, who has always been really good at portraying the more sinister roles. I really don't care what I see him in. He is always going to be the yellow bastard to me from Sin City, and this was very much so befitting for him. Now, Marty and Bobby cannot seem to do anything as small as even talk to two girls without Bobby physically and verbally abusing Marty constantly. Belittling, berating, the beating, it is all too much. You immediately want it to stop and you identify more with Marty's character. This movie is not at all slow paced. There isn't a lot of build up or easing us into anything in the beginning. We immediately jump into the characters and it feels a bit rushed, but it's more so for us to build our own opinions just based off of some of the disgusting behavior that we see going on, that we see not only these characters engaging in, but when we see the physicality of a character like Bobby. Now, don't mistake it, this does not, displease any of the interests from the young girls like Allie and Lisa, who very much so, give us some hot, funky, stinky, sweaty car sex right in the beginning of the movie, because that's attractive. Now, speaking of hot, stinky, sweaty, funky car sex, let's get into constant bush, constant pubes, constant nudity, nipples, ass, like everywhere. Every single second of this movie, there is a way to inject some type of sexual situation. Somebody's having sex, somebody's about to have sex, somebody's doing some obsolete ass thing as far as maybe laying in bed, looking at themselves in the mirror, but they just happen to be naked. And this goes for both the men and the women, more so geared towards the women part. Now, for the better part of this film, we do understand that these teens are, they should be a little bit older. They're maybe on their way out of high school or they just graduated. So we do get the perception that they are 18 and above, but just the look of it, regardless if these were full-blown as adult women, it's not something that you want to see, because a lot of the nudity here and the constant sex, it doesn't feel like it pushes any narrative along or it's any warranted nudity. It feels very unnecessary, and sometimes you feel a little dirty. You feel more like a voyeur, and you feel like you're sitting in the seat of a director just trying to get his rocks off, looking at certain visuals. Sometimes we get shots of, certain breasts, certain angles, your private area, like peeping toms, like you're peeking in on something. And I felt like there was more exploitation going on than really actually pushing a narrative, just as something as simple like us getting into a character like Allie and her being more of the, well, everybody's goddamn promiscuous, but her being, kind of, more on the freaky, adventurous side of sex. So we have to have a elongated moment of, her pouring hot wax on herself and on someone she's having sex with and engage in more of that sex after we've just seen her give head, after we've just seen more sex. Like, it just felt like it was not serving a purpose. Or even when we have an angle with us kind of peeking in between her legs while she's getting her nails polished, I was like, I don't want to see this. Who told you I wanted to see this? I did not get the same perception in this movie that I got in a movie like Kids, which is just as graphic and sexual, and nobody's 18 in that movie, but it always felt like in the end it did serve a purpose. But every ounce of sex and every ounce of nudity that we got here in this movie, it absolutely did not. Now, where a lot of these dark scenarios as far as character and it enhancing the characters matter is when we get more into Bobby's character. When we get into his relationship that he has with Marty and the questions that it brings up, that's when I feel like all those things were needed, necessary, and it helped the storyline. Not that I wanted to see Bobby do a lot of the gross, sadistic things that he does in the film, but I can see why they were necessary. Things like the gay club scenario where we have Bobby kind of pimping out Marty, you know, saying he gives good phone sex, having people pay for his services, having him, you know, jump on stage, forcing him to dance for money, repeatedly having Marty do things that he clearly does not want to do. But Marty seems so helpless and so defenseless and has to do whatever Bobby says, even though he knows that he is using him and he's abusing him. But right away, we very much so see that this isn't just in the realm of friendship in the movie, and this is more of a toxic, codependent relationship with Bobby constantly projecting his sexuality onto Marty. You know, you engage in all of this gay phone sex. You dance in a gay club for gay men. You must like it. You must be having a good time. All the while, it's actually Bobby. We have Bobby constantly looking up on Marty with this sense of jealousy and envy. Like when we have the sex scene in the car, he can't even enjoy the head that he is receiving because he is looking at him and Lisa in the back seat, low-key wishing that it was him. And since it can't be him and he doesn't want to admit his sexual desires, he projects the entire movie, whether that's through physical, verbal, disgusting, overbearing abuse towards not only Marty, but Lisa as well. Y'all, the movie had been on for 10 minutes. Now, what I thought was really, really interesting about this film was that we kind of low-key had more than one villain. Of course, we do have our main villain in the mode of a Bobby, but we also have characters who come along like Lisa, who is not only a victim, but she is also a villain in her own way. And we do spend a whole lot of time with her character. I was not expecting that, and I found myself being really interested in not only the way that Marty's mind was working or Bobby's, but hers as well. She is very much so just happy to have a penis to pounce on and call somebody her boyfriend. When I say lost and turned out, if there was a picture available for lost and turned out, it would be Lisa's goddamn face. She is so eager and desperate to have someone by her side that she is so willing to dismiss the disrespectful behavior from not only Bobby, but somebody like Marty. He is very mean to her at times, very passive, very abusive, and in many ways to her in this movie, but she dismisses it all in the name of love and attaching herself to someone, and just associates all the problems that are happening with Marty to Bobby, not even recognizing that even though that may be the case, Marty is absolutely a very dark and troubled person. But the only problem is she is very much so that herself. She is also a manipulator who acts very selfishly in the film when it's about getting what she wants in the end, which is Marty, and is actually the catalyst for everything that really happens in the end. So when we have sick ass scenarios coming off of Bobby, like Marty and Lisa having sex, I don't know, for the 15th time in the movie, and we have him come and hit Marty in the face and say, "It's my turn," and he goes about having sex and assaulting Lisa in the process. I did not know what was happening at that moment. With that relationship and that jealousy and that hold that he has over Marty the entire movie, I really assumed in that moment that he went about breaking that up so that he could assault Marty, and maybe that was their relationship and what it has been for the better part of their friendship. Bobby is jealous, he's depraved, conflicted, and confused by all of his desires, and he clearly abuses and resents Marty for this. Marty has been abused and controlled by Bobby since they were in elementary school. Now, it is not implied at all in the movie that they had a sexual relationship, and every time that we do get more into that codependent, toxic girlfriend, boyfriend type of energy that they tend to give, it's all based in the realm of Bobby constantly projecting, abusing, being jealous, and then saying shit like, "Oh my God, you're my best friend, I love you," all the while abusing him. But but I would not be surprised if it did go more towards the sexual spectrum. Even though we see a lot in the film, he's kind of testing the water, dipping his toe in as far as Marty is concerned, seeing just how far he will go. Oh, you will engage in this gay phone sex, you'll engage in us, making this sick ass porno together, you go to the gay clubs with me and dance on stage, and maybe one day you'll let me hit it from the back type shit. Just absolutely sick. But that strong, disgusting hold that he has over Marty, I would not be surprised if it did go that route. Marty is so afraid. Hence all the breakdowns when he tells stories about, how Bobby has treated him in the past. Hence him lashing out at his parents and that whole aspect of, why can't we just move? Why can't we just leave? Somebody save me. Let's get into the neglectful, oblivious ass parents in this movie. Now, most of our characters here are from, upper or more so middle class families and neighborhoods. They all have, what appears to be, well-established homes and parents. From the looks of it, you would feel like they should not have a care in the world, but all of them pretty much end up going through the same things. They all have all this idle time, idle minds, all this constant debauchery, free-flowing sex, all this constant drugs, alcohol, violence. They literally have nothing to do because nobody in this movie, as far as parents, holds anybody accountable. They are able to do whatever they want to do. So in this suburban neighborhood, we have bitterness, resentfulness, kids running around without any real purpose in life because they seem to almost be forgotten by their parents. Many of them are teenage moms, they're dropouts, they're gamers, they're druggies without any direction whatsoever. Every single person in that crew of 7, they are all about living in the moment, all about escapism, whether that's through constant sex, constant drugs, constant, obsession with video games, maybe even obsession with another person. It is all about escaping reality because they feel like they don't actually have one. So when we get into something as serious as the question of, should we murder somebody like Bobby instead of, maybe calling the police? It's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we murder him and conspire to make this happen? Not only is it fun and ambitious, but it actually gives us something to do. With all of their behaviors constantly going ignored by the parents and unchecked, we see them kind of pushing the limitations of what's okay to do because they can do pretty much anything that they want to do. And when we do have parents chime in, like maybe Bobby's dad or maybe even Lisa's mother, it's all off the strength of maybe blaming somebody else for their child's behavior, saying, oh, they are a bad influence, you need to get away from Marty. Bobby has all the prospects in the world. He does well in school. He has an opportunity to go into business with his father and go to college, but Bobby is also abusive. He does constant sexual assault against women. He is disrespectful and he is hated. And we also have Lisa's mom thinking that, oh, if Lisa could get away from a certain crowd, they are bringing you down, you should get away from Allie. Meanwhile, Lisa is completely delusional. She is clingy. She is a manipulator and she is a bad influence, not much unlike Bobby. Lisa totally set up Allie to be assaulted, to push along the narrative of Bobby to get that revenge of that murder that she wanted to happen so that she could eventually get Marty all to herself. I never believed that it was just, hey, if we hook him up with Allie, maybe Bobby will finally get out of our hair. She already knew how he was firsthand, as far as the sexual assault, as far as him trying to pour his goddamn gay porn addiction on everybody. And when you're not agreeing with what he wants to do, he is assaulting you, he is abusive, he is just a horrible, sick ass individual. And she sent her friend in there to be assaulted by him just so she could have one more person on her side to get that crew together to kill Bobby. Not only has he done this to me and to Marty, but he's done it to you also. Should we kill him? Should we make this happen? She was sick also. Now, for the better portion of the movie, after everything is established, we do spend more time with our 7 friends and getting to know them and their little sick, unambitious ass worlds. Like, it's not a whole lot to that. There is a lot of character building to inform you as an audience as to why any of these people would want to involve themselves in such a sick crime, such as murder, instead of calling the police or just even wanting to participate at all in something that has nothing to do with them, or even failing to truly see the severity of the situation that they are trying to do. Hence why going forth and trying to set Bobby up the first time and shoot him in the back during sex did not work. We also have the father of Lisa's baby come into question, in my opinion, because we aren't quite sure with her sleeping with both Marty and being assaulted by Bobby if Marty is actually the dad. And I was strongly wondering, was this an opportunity to put more pressure on the situation because she was so upset at the thought that Bobby could be the father of her baby, or maybe even he was. We don't really know. The baby isn't born. There isn't any paternity being taken, but I thought she did maybe consider that going in as to why I really need him to be gone today. A lot of the story ended up revolving around Lisa, which I really didn't expect. Scenarios like Lisa not being able to pull that trigger to kill Bobby, not having the courage, and her needing to involve more people, doing things like manipulating her cousin to join in or hiring the hitman, discussing the murder so openly and so casually in front of her friend who works at Pizza Hut even after the murder is committed. But not just her, all of them are so open and so unassuming and so casual about murdering somebody that it's kind of scary, hyping themselves up, plotting this murder over time, getting Bobby to come out to the beach, tag teaming to murder him in the most brutal way. I love how the story was depicted to where this is such a sick individual. You feel sorry that they are going about it this way, but you are not at all sorry to see Bobby go. He is quite the sick character, and Nick Stahl did a great job portraying him. All the acting all around is top tier, but immediately after they commit this brutal crime, all this killing, they both, try to minimize their participation, try to distance themselves from it. Throughout the movie, we see every single reason why they would want to take somebody like Bobby out, especially Marty. You see the gleam in the anticipation and just the need that he feels to have him gone. He is truly hurt and truly troubled himself. But after the murder, we see them move in the same way that they have probably moved throughout their entire lives. Nobody wants to be responsible and take accountability for anything as far as their involvement. Everybody just retreats, and they instantly all fall back into the realm of, hey, if I get caught, I could go to jail. I need to protect myself. I didn't, it's just so immature, and it made me think of Bobby's behavior throughout the movie. Anytime we seen him do anything involving sexual assault, anything, sick, all that goddamn depraved behavior, we would instantly see him wash his hands as if, it meant nothing. I'm washing it off and I'm moving on. It doesn't matter. And immediately after they murder him, there is a sense of them just kind of washing it off and moving on when they are not able to do that. So when we have them do something like participate in something as severe as a murder and them immediately trying to distance themselves from it later and get into self-preservation mode, it is not surprising because this is what they have been doing their whole lives. And in the end, I felt like we were left with a film that not only gave a deep depiction of bullying, this is the most severe bullying that could ever take place, but just even the mere thought of it, just even, the random bullying that may go on in a quiet high school hallway or just at an elementary school, it all very much so matters. Like, don't ignore these things, don't allow these things to take place and not really just pay attention to it and disregard your children or their cries for help, because it could turn into something that could change their lives forever. Not saying that it would turn into this, but it is very much so possible. And the movie also shined a really big light on the parents' behavior. I think a lot of the interaction or the most care and concern that we seen from them in the movie, well, some of them, was when the murder, you know, actually took place. And then, you know, we want to inquire about, you know, what actually happened. How much involvement did you have? What does this, you know, all really mean? And it's like, don't wait until it's just absolutely too late to try to step up or, you know, inquire more about your kids. Be there, be open. I also thought that this could be a good window into other situations, not just, you know, school bullying, but situations where we have shooters run into school and, you know, try to end it all, try to shoot everybody, just feeling like they didn't have any. I've exhausted all my options. I didn't have anybody. Mainly those scenarios always start at home, and there are signs, and it just goes unnoticed by somebody who's just not paying attention as a parent. But much like those situations in the one in this film, we don't have parents check in until it is just absolutely too late and you are in court and you are being sentenced. Child, when we got into those sentences and you see life and then you see, 7 years, but like, these people are out and currently living life. Like, you can contrive to kill somebody, you know, put a bat to somebody's head, stab somebody, and sometimes you can just get out and live the rest of your life. But you get caught with a dime sack in the corner and you going to jail. Like, I thought that was crazy. But in the end, we see them pretty much sentenced for their crimes, and we have, you know, the parents just looking up on them with all this shock and this disdain, like, oh my God, I would have never thought. Not my baby. Yeah, this film very much so says, never think that not my child. It can be your child too. Not to say that this is all solely the parents' fault. A lot of these kids acted on their own accord, and a lot of them were followers. But the bulk of it started at home. Watch your kids. Open the door and look around. Go through stuff. Set boundaries. Set rules. Put your foot down. Hold your raggedy kids accountable. It's okay. Well, you guys, that was my review for Bully. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this review and what you think about this film as a whole. I was very much so conflicted with this movie. I did very much so get and appreciate the message and, you know, some of the more graphic material that we get into here. But when we get into that and we lean more into all the sex and the nudity, I do think that it was more on the explicit, unnecessary ass side, and it kind of took away from the point that we were trying to get here at some moments when we start in an hour with sex scene after sex scene after sex scene. But you guys, you know, drop low. I look forward to reading your comments. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.